Weather portion of Ag Week. Now it's the most exciting time of the year for weather, really, in many ways. Late March and April, which is a funny way of really saying that it's the most difficult time to forecast the weather. Let's start with the basics. U.S. Drought Monitor. Drought continues. California, the deep level soil moisture profile extremely dry, although they've had some rain. And across North Dakota, things are fairly dry, with most of North Dakota either dry or in moderate drought. Nothing severe or anything like that, just a lot of fairly dry soil. Well, what does that mean? That's the deep moisture profile. When we actually look at soil conditions in the topsoil around the United States, this is more a reflection of recent rainfall. Pacific Northwest is wet. Northern California is wet. Southern California is not really wet, but it's not so parched because they've had rains down here. It's just that the overall moisture profile in Southern California, they're still way behind after several years of drought. Much of the southern plains, the winter wheat areas, not too bad off, really. In fact, part of the panhandle is fairly wet. A little bit dry in the southeastern United States, and that spills up into the southern part of the Corn Belt. And then an interesting dichotomy where it goes from dry to quite wet through the central part of the upper Midwest, then to fairly dry again across the North Dakota. That dry, wet, dry setup going into spring makes for some interesting prospects as we approach planting season in the northern plains. Well, what is the weather going to do for us this week? Although the El Nino is beginning to show signs of fading, it's the southern branch of the jet stream that still has most of the energy. The polar jet is fairly weak. Watch this surge, this bright orange to pink, as that moves out over the next several days. That's going to likely be a storm. Severe weather in the south, maybe in the upper Midwest, possibly northern plains, somewhere up in this region. There are signs there could be a rain to snow system sometime late next week or early next weekend. We'll have to watch for that. If that does happen, there would be the potential for some snow in some parts of the northern plains. Looks wet still Pacific Northwest, fairly dry or just light showers. Most of Southern California. As I mentioned, much of the Mid-South is going to be stormy this upcoming week, probably some tornadoes once again, and a chance of moderate to heavy rain or snow. Not sure how far west this will be. It may be another storm for Wisconsin and Iowa, but we'll have to keep our eye on that possibility. The last week of the forecast, which will be the first full week of April, is looking usual, wet in the Pacific Northwest, stormy in the deep south, and colder and drier here in the northern plains. I'm fairly convinced the first week of April will be the coldest weather we've had relative to average in some time. A cold start to April. I do believe warm and dry weather will return before the month is over. Prospects for a warmer, drier summer still looking somewhat likely.